you are smart. And if you have the courage to stand together and go beyond race and go beyond nationality and sexual orientation and all that stuff, if you can work with other people in your own country, other people around the world, you can create, you can transform this planet. You really can. You can save the planet. You can greatly improve the quality of life. You can do it, all right? You really can.
I've been doing a number of videos recently involving personas such as Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan, so I need a little palate cleanser. This is a clip of Bernie Sanders visiting Oxford University, taking questions from Oxford students. He was on tour, I believe, promoting his book, It's Okay to Be Angry About Capitalism. This is a year old, so it predates the ascension of Trump 2.0. But in this clip, he's talking about, international collaboration. And let's watch it together. I will have some thoughts that I will add as we go, and then I want to know what you think in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Bernard Sanders.
So you're a bit far from home and your usual political constituents. I'm sure we're speaking to a very, very international room. You've spoken about the importance of sort of grassroots level activism and getting involved in the political process around you. What role do you see international collaboration playing in the fight for a more just world, and how do we link grassroots?
Say that again. I'm sorry. What do I see?
Sorry? You've spoken about the importance of grassroots level activism. You're far from where your constituents usually are. What role do you see international collaboration playing in these fights for a more just world?
Good. International collaboration. All right.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, the world is obviously becoming much smaller. All right. And I was so furious, almost on a personal level, at what Putin did in the Ukraine, not just because of the terrible destruction that the people in the Ukraine are experiencing, not just because of the loss of tens of thousands of young men in Russia, which is all a horror into itself. But you know what else that invasion did? At a time when we are trying to bring the world together, at a time when, Russia had been run by the Soviet Union, we had a terrible Cold War forever, since the revolution there. We were in opposition to China, and suddenly those things were breaking down. The United States was working with China, working with Russia, and now what you're seeing is a growing Cold War between the United States and China, and obviously a terrible situation with Russia. Just think for a moment, how are we going to deal with the crisis of climate if you have a world that is divided and not cooperating? The United States is the number 2 carbon emitter in the world. China is number 1. Russia does its share, Europe does its share, etc., etc. No one country, we are investing a lot of money in transforming our energy system. And you're talking about it and doing that as well. It ain't going to work unless every country on earth, certainly the major emitters, are evolved in that together. So on this one, there must be, the future of the world is at stake. We are, whether you like it or not, we are all in this together. Climate change is going to be a disaster for China. Some of their major cities will be underwater. It will be a major disaster for the U.S. You have last summer some of the hottest days in the history of this country, right? All right. Drought, flooding, extreme weather disturbances. That is what we are looking at as a planet.
I'll keep this brief, but I really do appreciate it framed that way. However you feel about China, they're not stupid, right? They understand what's happening. You don't hear them denying the reality of a changing climate. And we have, of course, geopolitical and economic rivalries with other countries such as China around the world. But one of the things I love about Bernie is that he just frames it. He's like, well, let's not forget, we're all facing this problem, right? Isn't it obvious that it would be better to work on it together instead of separately, or even worse, oppositionally?
So you asked me about international cooperation. That must be the case. I'll give you another example, and that is the pandemic. Pandemic is not a British issue. It's not an American issue. It is a global issue. And we're going to have to come up with ways to do a better job in fighting the next pandemic. Turns out that China is doing some really good research in that area. We've got to cooperate with them and with other countries. So one of the challenges that you face, historically, I see it right in front of me every day as a United States Senator. There have always been people in your country, in my country, and around the world, for whatever reason, who are nationalistic. America first. The UK, the British Empire first, and all that stuff, all right? Well, we got to get over that, all right? And we're going to have to figure out how we work with people together all over the country, because in fact, if we don't solve climate, if we don't prevent another pandemic, etc., there's going to be massive, massive suffering.
I'm afraid we're very short on time. I'm not sure of time for any more questions. But there is one question that all the members would like to hear your answer to, Senator, which is, given all the problems you've talked about, are you intending to contest the Democratic nomination for the presidential election next year?
Now you see you've fallen into that trap of political gossip. The other issues that I talked about are far more important than that one. But what I have said is that if President Biden runs for re-election, I'm going to support him, and I think he will. So we'll leave it at that. All right, let me just conclude. I know my wife, where's Jane? Jane, you here somewhere? Here's my wife. And she always tells me that we have to give out Prozacs at the end of my speeches, because I thoroughly depress everybody. Suicide rates go up, everything. And I don't want to do that, despite everything that I've said. And that is, in my country, and I know it's true in your country, and I see it in this room right here. Your generation, your brothers and sisters in the United States and all over the world, your generation is in many ways the most progressive generation in the modern history of this country. Your generation is more anti-racist, more anti-sexist, more anti-homophobia, more anti-xenophobia than any generation in modern history. You are smart. And if you have the courage to stand together and go beyond race and go beyond nationality and sexual orientation and all that stuff, if you can work with other people in your own country, other people around the world, you can create, you can transform this planet. You really can. You can save the planet. You can greatly improve the quality of life. You can do it, all right? You really can. So I don't want anything that I've said to make you feel depressed or hopeless. That's not the case. The case is that you have extraordinary potential to transform this world. Work with your brothers and sisters in the United States and other countries. Let's do it. Thank you all.
Before we thank the Senator for joining us, and to end on a happier note, that Prozac, in recognition of decades of service to the aims of the Oxford Union Society, promoting civil discourse, political engagement and free speech across the globe, and in recognition of your repeated visits to the Union, on behalf of our patron, the Lord Heseltine of Thenford, our Chair of Trustees and myself, I'd like to present you with honorary membership of the Oxford Union Society and a membership card. Most importantly, Senator Sanders, you can now get members' prices in our bar. So
want to know, when I show this card, do I get a discount on coffee?
25%. 25%. Ladies and gentlemen, in all good bookstores now, and in the Goodman Library. So please join us for book. Thank you.
Bernie Sanders, baby. That's actually, it makes me feel very emotional watching them applaud for him and that hopeful ending he put on it. We can't give up hope for sure. We got to fight like hell. We can't just roll over and let these fascists remake the world in their cynical image. That's a surefire way for it to go under. But, yeah. I just am envisioning what a world would have been like with a man like that as president, as our leader, telling it like it is and fighting for everybody instead of the interests of a very select few. Let me know what you think in the comments.